have a very interactive webinar set for you today. So post all of your questions in our chat windows below. Remember, our presenters, our guest presenters are very interactive. So they will be watching our chat window as well as some of the Delta sorors that are on our panel today to make sure that your questions are answered. So if you ask your question, if it does not get answered, we will follow up at the end of the presentation for each one of our presenters to make sure your questions are answered. So post away. No question is too small. No question is too big. We are here to become financially fit. So I will turn it over now to our president, Amy Davis.
Good morning. On behalf of the Chattanooga Alumni Chapter, we would like to welcome you to our Economic Development Spring into Becoming Financially Fit program. I would like to thank Ms. Stembridge with D-Free Global Foundation and Ms. Brown with Moneyline for presenting today. I'm sure we will walk away with great advice and techniques that will increase our financial literacy, satisfaction, and wellness. I would also like to invite you to follow us on our social media platforms for more upcoming programs and events. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Tanya Williams, and I am co-chair of the Economic Development Committee, and I have the honor and pleasure of introducing to you our first presenter. Tamika Stembridge is a former entertainment attorney, strategic consultant, and manager by trade that works daily to turn dreams into reality. As an MBA-toting attorney, lifelong lover of music, and business professional with experience that spans corporate, nonprofit, and startup organizations across a variety of industries, including entertainment, education, fashion. Tamika brings a wealth of skills, talents, and passion to any endeavor, with a mind for all things creative, commercial, and community. Tamika now lends her talents beyond traditional entertainment and serves as the executive director of the D-Free Global Foundation. Her blend of leadership, vision, insight, follow through, passion, personal commitment, and unique ability to engage people at all levels is a prized catalyst for growth and service that D-Free requires to meet the needs of the community at large. Tamika holds a BA in economics from Spelman College and both a JD and MBA from Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. Tamika resides in Philadelphia, but travels nationally in support of the D-Free Global Foundation. I present to you and welcome Ms. Tamika Stembridge.
Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to get my presentation together. While I'm pulling up the screen, I just want to applaud your chapter and applaud just generally the women of Delta Sigma Theta for really carrying the torch for our community and helping people to achieve financial wellness as a part of your economic development work. And so I'm excited to be with you all today. I'm trying to make sure I can see the chat because we're going to have a good time. I don't know if your attendees are ready for all that we have in store. I think I have everything up. We're good to go. Okay. Can you see my screen okay? I think I'm in the right place.
Yes, you are ready to proceed.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So the title of my presentation today is Free to Be, From Financial Freedom to Personal Power. This presentation is really personal to me as I've been working with Dr. Soaries and D-Free for the last 7 years. He actually created this program, this philosophy, this movement back in 2005 to help our home church, his home church, to pay off their mortgage and really, honestly, to help 1,000 families get out of debt. We went from a very small church on the corner in Somerset, New Jersey, a small town, to an entire city block worth of a facility that serves the community. And with that, It's just exemplary of what happens in our lives. You go from a small house, your small car, to now you're making more money, you move to a bigger facility, and the bills just keep growing. And so with that thought, he realized that the church was functioning the same way that people were functioning. We're dressing well, we're living well, we're driving well, vacationing well, but then not having enough to be able to give back and truly live out our life's goals. And so he created D-Free with the thought of helping 1,000 families to get out of debt. And our mission really is to be a transformational lifestyle movement that promotes financial freedom through values-based principles, the Bible, and practical approaches to financial management. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today, while it is financially focused, I'm going to dig into your lifestyle a little bit. So hopefully you're ready to do some exploratory research on yourself this morning as we go through the presentation. Our vision is really to help to create an economic and cultural shift from our community to move people from debt and delinquency over into participating in savings, insurance, and investment so we can grow assets and ultimately be able to leave a legacy. We do this through 3 ways: education, motivation, and support. So at its core, D-Free is a 12-step curriculum that takes people on the journey to financial freedom. And so we're going to dive in today. So I have some questions for you. And if my friends are in the chat, let me make sure I can see. Sorry, I want to make sure I can see the chat. There we go. Okay. So as I ask these questions, I'm going to ask, we said this was interactive. I'm going to ask you to drop your responses in the chat. All right. First question. Are you free? Just give me a yes or no in the chat. Raise your hand. Ladies on the line, feel free to go ahead and say it out loud. Okay. All right. I'm getting some responses. That's good. All right. I see some yeses and nos. Okay. Are you powerful? Slightly free. Yes. Okay. Are you feeling powerful? Okay. Next question. What consumes you? This is a deeper question. The first one's yes or no. What consumes you? And this can be in the most broad way. Okay, money, of course, because that's what we're talking about today. Staying healthy, that's a good one. Concerns for your family, stuff, time. Absolutely. As women, we tend to bear it all. And I don't know if there are men on the line, but I'll speak generally. I'll try to keep it general, but I know from a woman's perspective, there's always a lot that's consuming you, always something on the brain. So my next question is, so your time, your mind, your heart, spirit, your resources, and your money. Yep, you guys touched on all of those. What are you consuming? On the flip side, a little bit different, same words, slightly different question. What are you consuming? What are you eating? What are you doing? What are you buying? What are you taking in? What are you bringing into your environment and into your space and in your mind on a regular basis? Somebody's consuming lots of knowledge. Somebody's consuming a lot of Amazon. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Better health and food intake, more of the word of God. You guys you're on the right track. And why? So let's think about that. So we talked about what's consuming us and what we're consuming. Why do you feel the way you feel, or why did you respond to any particular question? If I was on my D-Free chat and I had all my screens up, I'd be clicking on people to talk. But why do you not feel free? Why do you feel powerful? Why are you consuming what you're consuming? All right, Gertha wants help. We're going to get help today. So I set this presentation up with these questions really to help you to tap into some of the potential drivers that are affecting your finances. Like I said, D-Free is a lifestyle movement. And so much of what we deal with, our money does what our life does. And when I'm training on D-Free and trying to help organizations understand why our approach to financial freedom is important, is because your money is going exactly where your life is taking it. It doesn't get up and walk out in the middle of the night. You tell it to go to Amazon, that's where it's going. And so today I want to kind of take you through a thought process to help you to open up beyond just, and we're going to talk about your budget. We're going to get that together as well. But I want to really take you through this process. So there's a book called The Overspent American. And in this book, the author, Julie Shore, talks about this process that Americans tend to go through that really is driving our spend culture. So even when we talk about money, we always talk about it in the sense of spending. We rarely talk about saving. We rarely talk about investing. You get the money, you spend it. just generally. You spend it on bills, you spend it on this, you spend it on that. And so she takes us through this process. And this is why I ask those questions. Because a lot of times, you know, when you ask people, what do you truly want in life? I want joy, I want peace, I want happiness, I want a healthy family, I want to be able to take care of, you know, my needs, I want to be able to enjoy my life. Very, very basic, simple things. However, all the things that we are exposed to tend to pile on to what we're thinking about. And just follow me through this process. So she talks about, we see things, we want things, then we borrow. This is the American way. We buy the thing and then we give it away. Anybody see that for themselves? So I'm going to give you an example. So if anybody's on social media, Instagram, Facebook, what have you, you see something on Instagram, a pair of shoes, a purse. I'll write the author of the book. I'll drop the book before I finish the presentation. I'll make sure I put it in there. So you see something on Instagram. If you're like me, you're like, oh, you know, that's nice. It's never, once you see something, it kind of triggers something in your mind. It may not have been something you've ever seen in your life before, but just by seeing something, there's now a light bulb of awareness in your mind that, I might want that. And, you know, if the desire becomes strong enough, you're like, you know what, I want it, I gotta have it. And, you know, from an American perspective, we can always find money to spend. From an African-American perspective, when we think about, you know, where Black people tend to fall on most financial lists, we're at the bottom of most lists that really matter. We're the least banked, or, you know, we rarely bank or we're underbanked. More than half of us either don't have a bank account or, you know, don't necessarily properly use our bank account. You know, our net worth is projected to be 0 by the year 2053. And so all of those negative statistics, but on the flip side of that, we know that Black people have over $1 trillion in spending power. Now, spending power doesn't necessarily mean income. It just means we have the ability to purchase things. And so this borrowing category is really where so much of that sits. So we see something, we want it, we borrow, we buy the thing, we love the thing for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And then if you're anything like me, at least once a quarter, you're taking a big bag of stuff to the Goodwill. Is that normal for anybody else, or is it just me? Anybody else going through that process? And it happens repeatedly. It can be clothes, it can be shoes, it can be food, it can be your car. You know, you're happy with this car, you know, all I wanted was this. And if I just get this, I'll be fine. And then, you know, 3 years down the line, something else comes. Now you've seen it, you want it, you borrow, you buy, you give it away. And you feel good about the giveaway part, but you forget that throughout this process, if you've borrowed to get the things, you know, when we find ourselves in D-Free, I get this question a lot. We teach classes on, we have an online academy where you can take the D-Free classes for free online using our website. And I'll make sure I drop the link there, but we meet on Monday nights for kind of coaching sessions. And in the coaching session, we're 10 weeks in, and 8 of the 10 weeks, I've gotten the question, well, should I refinance my house in order to pay off my debt? And my response is, for everybody, it depends. However, I couch it like this. Are you willing to risk being homeless for shoes that you bought 10 years ago? And then that normally gets people to stop in their tracks, because so much of the debt that we're looking to pay off is for things that we bought years and years and years and years ago. You swiped that Visa card at Macy's for those lovely shoes that you really, really wanted. And now here you are 8 to 10 years later, you're still paying the Macy's bill. And you're like, well, gosh, I got to get out of debt. I can't take it anymore. I'm over it. And you're willing to put up your house for a pair of shoes that you bought, wore, and gave away. And it sounds crazy, but until you put debt and money management in that kind of perspective, it really has to get you in your gut. And that's why D-Free is biblically based, because you have to start with the spirit. And so the flip side of this process, now that you're aware of it, I want to talk to you a little bit about how D-Free functions. So D-Free is a 12-step process, but it's broken down into 4 levels. The first level is get started. And in that level, all we do is take you through that heart and mind work. You have to admit the problem. What is it that's driving your financial behaviors? You have to admit that you're in a financial bind. And it might not always be that you're in debt. It could be that you need to save. It could be that you need to invest. It could be that you're older, you're on the cusp of retirement, or you're in retirement and you're not managing your money well. Or you have a positive goal. I want to buy a house and I don't know how to do it. So you have to admit the problem and figure out where you are. Then you have to address the mess. This is my favorite step of D-Free because we go through 3 types of spending. And I'm going to drop them in the chat. The first one is compensatory spending. That is spending to make up for something you feel like you're missing. Anybody familiar with the term retail therapy? You're upset, you're sad, you're mad, you go to Target. Yeah. So that's the first type of spending we talk about. The second one is conspicuous spending. And forgive me if I can't spell right now because I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. That's spending for status. That's your keeping up with the Joneses. And that was fine at a time because the Joneses used to live right next door to you. So there was only so much aspiration you could have on the same block. You know, you're generally making the same amount of money. You live in similar houses. Okay, the Jones got a Cadillac. You might go get a Cadillac too. But it's not like the Joneses bought a Honda and you go buy a Bentley. You know, conspicuous consumption, it just happens by nature. That's who we are as people. But if you go back to what we talked about earlier and the influence of social media, none of us follow broke people. Or even if you're not on social media, if you think about television, there are rarely regular families on TV. And so we're trying to, when we're spending for status, we're trying to keep up with the Kardashians. We're trying to keep up with very, very wealthy people on very, very regular middle income. Even if you're at the higher end of income, you're not a billionaire. And so the things that we're aspiring to, the gap is getting wider and wider. And if you're that type of person where, you know, if Kim Kardashian has this purse and you have to have it, and it's a $50,000 purse, your car is $50,000. But that is what you're aspiring to. And so that's you're going to try to get as close to that thing as possible. And so that's where conspicuous consumption comes in. And the last category is confused spending. You're just spending without thought. And this category, you know, could apply to anyone. You could be very, very good with your money. You could have money in the bank. You could have investments going. You could have, you know, your insurance is set up. Everything is together, but you still leave your house every morning that's full of food and go to Starbucks and get coffee and breakfast every morning, every single day. And you're not even paying attention to the $100 that you're spending every morning just on coffee, even though you have a house full of food. Or, you know, you walk into Target without a list. I used to live next door to Target. It was very, very difficult for me to survive that time period financially. You would go into Target for toilet paper and you could leave with the television and not even know the difference because you're walking the store. The store is set up. There's coffee in the front. There's women's clothes. There's women's accessories. By the time you've made that loop, the last thing you get to is toilet paper. But if you're anything like me and you pick up a cart on the way in, there's no telling what you're picking up before you get to the register. And we've been conditioned to rely on debit and credit cards as opposed to cash. So if you're walking around with a card, a swipe is a swipe is a swipe. Everything feels the same. You go buy gas, it's a swipe. You go buy coffee, it's a swipe. You go buy a television, it's a swipe. All 3 of those things cost vastly different amounts of money. Coffee's $3 to $5. Gas is $30 to $50, depending on what kind of car you have. A television is $300 to $500. But if the swipe for each of those things feels exactly the same, I don't physically feel what it's like to spend money. And so one of my first takeaways for you today is I want you to go to the bank. The bank will probably be closed by the time we finish today, but go to the bank on Monday. I know we're in COVID. Go to the ATM. Take out as much cash as you think you need for the week and leave your debit card and credit card at home. And, you know, thankfully we're at home. And so you're not really moving about, but take out as much money as you think you need for the week. When the world was open, this activity was the first time that people started to see where their money truly went and how they spent money. They would, you know, and take it out in the biggest bills that they will give you. I think the ATM probably only gives you 20s unless you take out a really high amount. But if we were able to go into a physical bank and get actual bills, I tell people to take it out in the biggest denomination as possible, because here's what's going to happen. So if I went to the bank Saturday, I took out $250. I have $200 bills and a 50. Now, normally on a Monday morning, if I got up, got in the car, and went to Dunkin' Donuts, I'm swiping my card. So I don't feel the $5. But now that I have $200 bills and a 50 in my hand, I'm going to think twice about whether or not I want to break any of those bills for a $3 cup of coffee. So suddenly I realize now I have coffee in my cabinet. I'm just going to make some coffee before I leave and go to work. I've automatically saved $3 to $5. And if you do that enough throughout the week, one, now you're becoming aware and sensitized to what it's like to spend money. And those trips to Target become different. You go to Target to get toilet paper and you only have $250 in your pocket. You can't buy the $500 TV that's on sale because you don't have the money. And if I only went in to spend $5 on toilet paper, and I said, I did my loop around the store and I get there and I'm putting stuff on the register and she's, adding things up. Now that I'm watching the amount of money that I have in my hand, I'm going to start to pay attention to what I'm spending. Oh, do I really need these pens out of the front? No. Do I really need this t-shirt? Nope, not really. And by the time she gets done, now you're back down to what you actually wanted to spend. And so that activity is really helping us to address the mess in our spending and how we're managing our money. It is eye-opening to see where your money and where your resources go when you go back to sensitizing yourself to the feeling of money and what it feels like to spend. It's easy to peel off a $5 bill. It is very difficult to break a $50 bill for a $5 purchase. And so you're trying to reacclimate yourself with the value of money because we've been desensitized from it. And that's why these commercials are out there. It is easy to spend. They're trying to make it easier. You can tap your phone. I had a girlfriend call me yesterday. She left her wallet at home by accident, went to the gas station, and she was able to pay for the gas with her phone. We all carry a phone every single day. If you could tap your phone for everything you wanted, you really don't feel anything because it's literally just a tap. But that's how our system is designed. And so you really have to pull yourself out of it in order to get better and really handle your finances. And so the last part of level 1 is adjust the attitude. So now that you've gone through these exercises, you can say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how wild I've been. I didn't realize that I was letting my emotions drive how I was responding to life. And we tend to respond to our emotions with our wallets instead of going to get therapy. One of the things that also comes up in level 1 is your money story. Where did you ultimately learn about how to manage money? Even if no one specifically taught you, because we tend to not talk about money in our families, you learned how to manage money from somewhere, from something you saw, something you experienced. I'm going to get to the chat in 2 seconds. I always go back to if you were a middle child growing up, you might have always gotten your older siblings hand-me-downs. And you made a decision probably around high school that by the time you got grown and had a job, you're never going to have secondhand clothes. In fact, you're only going to have the best because you're tired of having secondhand clothes. And so you wonder why you have a fixation for only designer clothes. It goes back to that money story. My grandmother always told me to save money, but she also always took me shopping on Saturdays. I never went to the bank to put money in, but I always knew how to shop. And so when I got grown, what do you think I knew how to do? Every Saturday morning, I went shopping. I was not the best at putting money in the bank because I didn't see that. I saw shopping. I heard saving, but I saw shopping. And so that's what I learned. And so you really, don't blame yourself for where you are. I mean, yes, take responsibility for your decisions, but you also want to process how you got to where you are so that you can do different moving forward. So I'm going to pause here real quick because it's some really exciting information in the chat. Yep, swiping your debit card, having cash in hand will make you think twice. Absolutely. My children started you leaving money in the bank and using your card. Yeah, the card is truly money. And we don't see it as that. A swipe is a swipe is a swipe. And your debit card feels the same as your credit card. Even though the debit card actually hits your bank account, the credit card you don't feel till you get the bill, if you open the bill. And so again, we're being desensitized from the value of money. And not to say that money is the end all be all, because the Bible doesn't say, money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. And people confuse that. So I'm not telling you to be broke. I'm not telling you to not have money. I'm not telling you not to shop. What I'm telling you is to be responsible for what you've been given, and to be a better steward of it. The envelope system, I don't do the envelope system, but I do it on paper. I wish I could show you. Don't look at my mess of a budget, but this is what it looks like because I'm getting ready to do bills after this. But I know where my money is, but the envelope system does help. Let's see, I learned how to manage money when my youngest child was in her last year of college. Yes, so this is the last thing I'll say on this step because Shawana just reminded me. I hate that platforms will save your credit card information so easy. Clear the cookies on your computer and on your phone. And the reason I say that, and also remove your credit card information, like you can delete it. You can delete it. You cannot save it when it shows up on your phone. And the reason I say clear your cookies is goes back to this process I talked about: see, want, borrow, buy, and give away. Your computer and your phones are tracking everything you say, everything you type, everything you click on. And so that one pair of shoes that you saw in the middle of the night when you were scrolling Instagram, and you might have clicked on it, are now showing up in your email. You might have got an email from Macy's that said, hey, we have a coupon. I know you saw those red shoes. Clearing your cookies takes that history away, and it somehow removes the temptation. So you're no longer seeing all the things that you were potentially interested in. We're in a season where money is literally flying in the air. If you are, at a point where you're able to get a stimulus check or whatever is happening, money is flying, people are clicking, and marketers are paying attention. The stimulus package is not to stimulate your financial well-being, it's to stimulate the economy and to get you to shop. And so people are really, really super active, and marketers are super active right now trying to get you. You just bought the shoes. It's okay, Napira. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's all right. You can return them if you purchased them wrong. And I hate to do this, but Black women work really, really hard. And because of that, we have a syndrome that I call the I deserve syndrome. And part of it is, I'm not saying that we shouldn't work as hard as we do, but we have to figure out ways to nourish ourselves that don't involve spending all the time. And so, we'll talk about self-care at any given moment, but just think about how you're using money to address other areas in your life. I have a colleague, when we used to travel every week, she has a teenage daughter, and she would use this example. She would say, I'm on the road 6 out of the 7 days a week, 5 to 7 days a week, sometimes with D-Free. She would recognize that when she got back home, she would have a free-for-all with her daughter. They'd going out for sushi, they're going shopping, they're doing this, doing that. And she realized she was overspending to make up for the time that she was away from her child. And so it's not always that we're spending on us or buying the shoes. Think about, are you using money to compensate for something that is missing in your life or something you feel guilty about? And I challenge you to address the thing, and the money will fix itself. So if you need to spend more time with your children, if you need to not work as hard as you're working, figure out how to manage the schedule. Don't use money to respond to it, because money can't fix everything. It solves a lot of things, but there are certain things money can't fix. And so I want to make sure that you're paying attention to that. Okay, because I know I'm gonna come up on time. The second part of D-Free is get control. This is where we start the plan, steer the power, set the timer. This is rubber meets the road. I'm gonna show you in the next slide, once we go through the process, our recommended approach to budgeting, because it is a lot different than just listing your income and your bills, because that's normally what most people's budget looks like, right? Do you have a budget? I can't see your faces, so you can just drop a yes, a no, a one finger. Do you have a budget is the first question. Do you stick to it is the second one. So you could put, do you stick to it? Oh, somebody has a mental budget. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. All right. Somebody does the stick to it challenge. Not all the time. You try to. All right. I'm going to show you in the next slide how you can create a spending plan that gives you the freedom to do almost everything we just discussed. All right. The third level of D-Free is get ahead. So once we get your plan in place, we've figured out your debts that we need to cover, you have a solid spending plan, we want to still talk about the value of investing and creating a legacy. You want to get ahead. Even if you're not necessarily ready to invest, if you're not ready to create your retirement plan, in level 3, everything we talk about is the basics of investing, the basics of insurance, which is really, really important because a lot of us are underinsured. You have health insurance, you have car insurance, but do you have life insurance? Do you have long-term disability insurance or short-term disability or long-term care insurance? So many Black women, we're living longer. We tend to outlive our spouses and our partners, but we also end up taking care of elderly parents, and you're taking care of your kids. All of that can be a drain on your ultimate retirement plan if you're not properly insured. Think about it. You're living longer, but you're more potentially susceptible to, a long-term illness, a bout with breast cancer. I'm not wishing that on anyone, but the reality is our stats are pretty high. You're living with an illness that for the most part, your health insurance is only going to cover your actual treatment. Who's paying your mortgage if you're sick for an extended period of time? If you don't have long-term care or long-term disability insurance, you lose that income. And so a lot of women and men are having to go into their 401ks, go into their long-term retirement to pay for issues that they're experiencing right now. And so then what happens when you retire? You don't have anything. So now you're 65, 70 years old, giving out stickers at Walmart because you need to make ends meet. Insurance is the gap to really protect your wealth. And I'll show you that on the continuum in a second. Even if it's all through your employer, I implore you to reach out to those companies and figure out what it would cost to have it if you were unemployed. My mom got laid off at around age 48. She got laid off from a job after 30 years of service. Her life insurance was through her employer. Her long-term care, her long-term disability, her health insurance, all of that was through her employer. When she got laid off, she had to figure out how to make up the difference. And it's expensive on the other side of that if you don't start now. And so I really encourage everyone to think about, at the very least, getting life insurance outside of your employer, because even your current life insurance policy with the employer may not cover all of what you need over time. And if you get laid off, it's like not having life insurance at all. Most times they don't allow the policy to carry to you individually when you leave your employer, because it's a group policy. So if you're no longer a part of the group, you're no longer a part of that insurance pool. And as you get older, life insurance gets more expensive. And so it may be more difficult for you to get life insurance on your own. So please, please, please. And in this step, this is not for you to figure out on your own. We recommend that everyone meets with a financial advisor. You can start with going to your bank most banks offer free financial advising, at least the first consultation. You can go to a Prudential, you can go to New York Life, you can go find a financial professional that is certified, which means they took a test, not that they, had a driver's license and signed up for some company that's selling, side of the road insurance. Someone that is certified, that you trust, that you can tell your entire life's business to. Tell them your hopes, your dreams, your debts, your income, all of those things, so that they can put together a plan for you that is going to address your financial needs and desires going forward. And insurance should be a part of that. And even if you're not ready to pay for the plan right now, I made this mistake very early on. I was young, fresh in corporate America, met with an advisor, told him my life's dreams. He told me how much it was going to cost to invest. I was not mentally prepared to invest that kind of money in my future. Now I'm banging my head up against the wall because I'm like, I should have listened. I should have started sooner. The shoes weren't that important. But in my young head, it was like, oh no, sir, I'm just getting started. I don't need to do that now. But at least he gave me a roadmap of what it would cost to live the way I wanted to live. And now I'm doubling back and doubling up to make sure that I can get to that number. But it's really important that you can at least see what your desired future state costs, so you can start making the choices and making the investments now. So level 3 of D-Free is all about that. The last level of D-Free is give back. This is the opportunity for you to share what you've learned and the life transformation that you've experienced with other people. We don't talk about money enough in our community. And the fourth part of D-Free is really about creating a cycle of knowledge and a cycle of wealth for our community, being able to donate back to charities and organizations that we believe in, but also being able to throw the rope back and teaching our young people, teaching even our seniors and our older people, teaching our peers and our friends. As girlfriends, we could talk about everything except money. We'll go to brunch and talk about our husbands, talk about our kids, talk about the car, talk about vacation, but we won't talk about the fact that, one person can't really afford brunch, so she's using a credit card. This person over here wants to split the bill because she couldn't afford to be there either. And here we are at this luxurious place having a great time, and all of us are suffering. We need to have the money conversation in places that we're comfortable and start to be transparent about what we need and what we want. And if we can't do that, we're not going to collectively get ahead. And that's why the fourth level of D-Free is so important, really helping to open the conversation. So that's the D-Free overview. That's how we do it. I want to talk to you really quickly. I'm going to show you our model for this spending plan, because this was also really, really eye-opening for most people. And I'm actually towards the end of my presentation, so I'm looking at time, but I want to make sure that we're answering questions as well. So our spending plan, remember I told you in level 2, this is where we introduce the numbers. So most people's budgets include their income, and then there's a column for expenses. So you list out all your income, then you list out everything you pay every month. What I want you to do is take your existing budget, if you have it, or if you're just developing one, and I want you to lay it out in this way, and at least in these categories, to think about your income. Think about all of your sources of monthly income: employment, entrepreneurship if you have a business, side hustle if you have informal ways of making money. So you haven't quite gotten your LLC, but you braid hair on the weekend. So my mom braided hair. So she could make almost double her paycheck in a weekend if she had enough little girls sitting in my living room. So if you have a side hustle that brings in consistent income. And then other income, if you're divorcing, receiving alimony, child support, or special payments. Right now, I would even put stimulus in here, even though it's not regular. It's money that you know you're going to get at least this month, to make sure you include that in your spending plan. So on the other side of the sheet, I want you to think about saving, giving and tithing, and then your expenses. And we're going to bust that expense category up into a few different areas. So savings, you have to pay yourself first. It took me years, and I'm still young, but it took me too long to realize that if I didn't put myself first, no one else was going to. And it was very frustrating to work every week, and then your bills and your expenses are in your paycheck before you are. Set up some kind of auto savings. And savings is not necessarily about the amount. You don't have to auto save $500 a week if you can't afford $500 a week. What you can do, though, is figure out an amount that you can afford to give yourself on a regular basis, automatically off the top, and set up some automatic platforms. Moneyline can help you do that. Some kind of auto savings, some kind of auto investing where the money is coming out before you touch it and before anybody else can touch it. And it's the habit of saving. I talk about my grandmother a lot. Even though she took me shopping every Saturday, she also had a very strong savings habit. She saved $20 a week or more every week from the time she started working. That was her personal commitment. If I can't save $20 a week, I don't deserve to be working. And so she did that every single week for every, that was her minimum when she first started working. By the time she retired and we got ready to move her to South Carolina, we went into the bank. First of all, they gave her coffee and all this stuff when she got to the bank. I wasn't understanding why they don't treat me that way. But when we sat down to look at her accounts, at that point, I understood. She took out $7,000 from a regular savings account, her regular play money, because she thought we were going to need that much cash to drive to South Carolina. I was dumbfounded because I saw all the accounts she had, and her regular savings account was like incredible. And she said to me, that was that $20 a week I've been telling you to put away since you started working. And we don't think about that. So savings, make that number one. Giving and tithing, I know we go back and forth. D-Free is biblically based. If you're giving and tithing, that should come off the top as well. I won't get into the details of it, but whatever's important to you, you want to make sure that you put that at the forefront as well. Then we talk about bills. Now, most people's bill category is huge, but the reality is your bill category is not that big. Bills are things that are required for living. So electricity, heat, hot water, got to pay taxes, got to pay sewage. You can include your mortgage and rent payment there because you do need a place to live. But technically, your mortgage is a debt that you have to pay. It's a good debt, but it's a debt that you have to pay. But your bills are the basic things that it takes for you to live. So if you go through your budget right now, that's not, it's a decent number. But for most people, when you look at that compared to the next category, which is your debts, you start to see, oh my God, if I didn't have Visa, MasterCard, a car note, student loans, a Macy's card, a JCPenney's card, and a Kohl's card, I might be rolling in the dough. And so that's why we encourage you to separate out your monthly budget so you see your bills and then you see your debts. And once you see that debt category, that's where you have to hone in and pick a strategy, whether it's the debt snowball, the debt avalanche, or whatever, to really attack the debt category of your budget. Your bills are not killing you because you would have to do that regardless. 9 times out of 10, it's your debts that are hurting you. And until you break up your budget in this way, you will never know that difference. And so once people see that, that's the first point of freedom a lot of times in D-Free. When you look at the numbers, you get mentally free early on. When you separate those bills and those debts, the light bulb goes off. You're like, you know what? I make enough money. If I can get rid of these debts, I will be able to have more of what I'm working hard for. And that is where the secret sauce of D-Free lies, is that category, that debt category. And so we recommend that you use the debt snowball method, which is where you list all your debts from smallest balance to highest balance, and you attack them strategically one at a time. Everybody gets the minimum payment at least every month. but you take that smallest debt and pay it off. Let's say if it was a medical bill that was charging you $20 a month, the total bill is only like $250. Pay that off. Take that $20, apply it to the next bill that you have. It might be a Visa that's $500 that's charging you $27 a month. Instead of giving them 27, you're going to give them the 27 plus the 20 you were paying on that bill before it. Now it's 47. You're going to keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that until that Visa is paid off. Then you're going to take that $47 now, because you had the 27 from the Visa, the $20 from the medical bill, and add that onto the next highest debt every month. And you're going to continue that process until you pay everything off. It works. Some people do it based on their the interest rate. If you do it, that's called the debt avalanche. If you use the avalanche method, it tends to it's cheaper from a dollar's perspective, but it's a lot less motivating. The debt snowball is a great way to get started because you start to see impact right away if you're following it. Some people start with the debt snowball and then move to the avalanche because they want that initial pot of money to use to help pay towards their debt. And then they switch and start to attack it by interest rate. Whatever you do, that debt category is where you're really going to focus, because you're going to have to pay bills. The debt part is not, debt is not required. Debt is optional. And debts are anything that tend to charge interest or should ultimately be paid off. You don't always have to have a car note. Some of the most free people don't have car notes. But we have been, again, if you go back to the cycle we talked about, you saw something, you wanted it, you borrowed, you bought the car, you loved it till you paid it off, or if you paid it off, but then you see something else and then you go trade the car again and you just always have a car note. That's not necessarily the way you want to live your life. And so it is very, very freeing. You want to make sure you attack the debt category. The last part of our expenses is your lifestyle expenses. So many people's budgets don't get wrecked by what's in the budget. It gets wrecked by what's not in the budget. If you know you get your hair done every week and you could not run a comb through your hair on your own if you miss that appointment, put your hairstylist into your budget. If you have to get your nails done, because if not, your whole fingers will fall off, put that into your budget. But you have to pick the things that you can afford. You can't get hair done, nails done, go out for buffalo wings, go buy this and go buy that and go to Macy's every Saturday. If it's not in the budget, it can't happen, because you can only do what you can afford to do. And so our lifestyle expenses tend to not be included on our budget. And it's the things that we're going to do regardless. Like my mom was like, you know what, I'm going to get my nails done. I work too hard to not do it. But you have to make sure that it's in the budget. Otherwise, you're going to go into debt doing it. Now you're using a credit card to pay for your nails every week. And you can't do everything. You can only do what your actual income bandwidth will allow. And so maybe you're selecting 2 or 3 things from your list of 10 things you want to do consistently. And it might change every month. Some people just treat it as play money. Like, I know I want at least X number of dollars every 2 weeks to do whatever I want to do. I'm not committed to a hairstylist. Pray for my ponytail. I'm going at the end of the month. But, I just like to have money to be able to do Target or Amazon and know that I'm not affecting any other part of my life. And so it's really important that you organize your finances in a way that gives life to everything that's important in your life. And again, attacking that debt category will give you freedom to do more in the other categories that you care about. All right, so real quick, I talked a little bit about this. This is the D-Free Lifestyle Continuum. What's funny is I think Michelle Dutton, who invited me to this session, created this continuum graphic for us. But this illustrates all the steps that D-Free takes care of. At a most basic level, we're doing D-Free training, and that helps you pay down your debt, get rid of your credit cards. Then we talk about building an emergency fund. And you have to, some people are against doing things at the same time. You have to save as you're paying down debt. If not, when life happens to you, you're going to have to use debt to pay for life. So think about it. You're paying down all your bills. You're not saving any money. Your car tire blows out. How do you pay for the tire if you don't have any money saved as you're paying down debt? You got to go back and use the credit card. And so we show you how. That's why that auto saving piece is really important, so that you have an emergency fund. So you're paying down debt, you're building an emergency fund. Most people can't put their hands on $400 solid right now. If something happened today, most people couldn't go to the bank and get $400 out. And so when people ask, well, how much of an emergency fund do you need? Over time, we'd like you to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved. However, start with $500. Start with $100 if you have nothing saved. $100 is a big, that's a big amount of money if you're not a saver to be able to go to if something happened. You ran out of gas. They shorted your paycheck. You have $100. Then build to 500. Then build to 1,000. $1,000 for most people is enough to handle a minimal life emergency. That shouldn't be the only thing you have saved, but it's a great cushion so that you can sleep at night. That if the water heater went, you at least have a good down payment on that. You bust a tire, you can pay for that tire outright. And then you build yourself up to that 3 to 6 month window. And then we talk about building wealth. Now, this is not to say that, you know, you shouldn't put money into your 401k. You absolutely should be doing that. But the building wealth category comes after the emergency fund only because most investments aren't liquid enough for you to handle an emergency if if you have to go into an investment to pull something out to handle life's emergencies. And you don't want to be using your 401k like a savings account. That is for your retirement. The other point I'll make here, because I believe some of you have college age children, do not cash out your 401k to pay for your child's college education. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, your child cannot afford to cover your life in retirement. You are responsible for you. If the child has to take out student loan debt, do it, be smart about it, try to only use federal money, figure out a strategy to pay for college, but do not cash out your 401k for your child's college tuition. It's the same concept of refinancing your house to pay for the shoes you bought 10 years ago. It doesn't make sense. And as much as I love my parents, I can't afford to take care of both of them and me in retirement. And so you want to make sure that you're building wealth after you've had money saved and you have a plan for those other areas of your life. The other thing I'll say, the stock market is very, very interesting. It's an exciting place to be. And Ansia, who's going to talk to you from MoneyLion, there's a great opportunity to do auto investing there, which I talked about on the last slide. Things like that, where it's organized investing, it's a part of your strategy, it's not going to affect your debt reduction. Yes, do those things. But a lot of times I see people that say, oh, I want to invest in real estate, and they're carrying tons of debt. Their credit is bad. They don't have an emergency savings. Investing is risky. And you don't want to put everything on the line if you don't have these other 2 things taken care of. Then we talk about wealth protection. That's the insurance part we talked about. It's risk management. You don't want to have to use all the wealth that you've built to cover one of life's big emergencies. You know, if you're in a weather situation and the roof blows off the house, you don't want to have to go to your 401k to pay for the roof to get fixed. It's really, really important to put these things in order. And the last part of the continuum is leaving a legacy. Have an estate plan in place, even if it's basic. Get a will. Make sure that your beneficiaries are updated on your insurance policies. Huge. Life changes and we don't update our documents. You might have been married. The first set of insurance policy that you had, that relationship no longer exists. If your ex-husband is still on your life insurance policy, if you pass away, guess what? Old honey still gets the money. And there's nothing that anybody can do to move that or make that change. So you want to make sure you update your insurance policies, have a will, have a power of attorney, have living documents. So you might want to have a medical directive so that, God forbid, I think about people that got COVID and didn't have these things in place. Not only is your family concerned about your health and well-being, they're now stressed out about your finances. And this could be any kind of illness. You don't want your family to have to mourn you and be stressed out about the money at the same time. And so just document it. It's very easy. You can get a will done anywhere from $200 to $600, depending on how complicated it is, by a local attorney. You can try to do it yourself, but there's a lot of nuances in terms of how it gets signed, how it gets activated. Every state's laws are different. See an attorney to get that set up. But the point here is to make sure you have a plan in place, even if you don't think you have a whole lot. You don't want your kids and your family to be stressed out when you transition. So the outcomes, if you go through this entire process and you follow it through, and I'm going to encourage you all to consider taking the D-Free course. It's available for free online. We meet every Monday, optional. So if you want to have that community dynamic to be able to talk about issues like this, Dr. Soares is on, our D-Free team is on. We bring experts on to really help. But the outcomes of going through this D-Free process. Spiritual grounding, first and foremost. D-Free is biblically based. Everything that we go through, we teach you the scripture that kind of grounds it. The Bible speaks more about money than almost any other topic in our lives. And it's on purpose. because I believe God knew that the one thing that was going to get in between us and being able to live the life he truly desired is money. It gets in the way. And so we make sure that we, ground you spiritually, help you to develop a clear vision for yourself, for your life, for your family, and for your finances. A sound strategy, again, step by step. It's very easy if you deal with one thing at a time. A workable plan, that spending plan and your debt pay down plan are the keys to getting you financially free to do those other things. Purposeful work. Nobody wants to work to pay bills and debt for the rest of their lives. You want to be able to do the meaningful things that you really care about. And if you feel strapped to a 6-figure job because you have all these debts and you really wanted to go and be a teacher, you can't do that if you have the financial bearings. This is important for our children as well. So our kids are, when you think about our community, the Black community, I don't know what your communities look like, but there are a lot of young white women teaching in our public schools. And maybe your kids are in private school for whatever reason, but our education system is being led by people that don't look like us. And that is unfortunately an economic issue. Our children can't afford to be teachers because they can't afford to pay the student loans that it took to go to college. But, my goal is for my son to not have to make career decisions based on economics. Now, yes, if you want to be a lawyer, absolutely. I went to law school because I wanted to, but I knew I did not want to be a corporate attorney, even though that's the job that I took, for my summers because I needed the money to do it. But you can't operate in purpose if you're bound financially. And so you want to create an environment where you can pursue whatever your heart desires. And really be able to give yourself to that because you're not bound financially, and ultimately freedom. And so again, this is the goal of D-Free, is to take us down this journey. It is about money, but it's more so about the freedom to live your life the way God intended, the way that you desire, and the way that it's meant to be. And you have to address all the financial things that we've piled up. And the other caveat I'll give is this: not all of us spend our way into debt or spend our way into financial trouble. You might have gotten divorced. You might have had a medical issue. You may have gotten laid off and just haven't been able to recover. And so while I'm not condemning anyone for where you are financially, because I'd be condemning myself because I've lived it. I didn't tell y'all my story, but I will at some point. Corporate, nonprofit, law school within an 8-month time period, never changed my spending habits. The government didn't want to give me no more money for law school. I had to get my life together. That is it. In short, I'm now better, but I'm not perfect. I have a law degree that I borrowed student loans for. So I live in a house that I just bought, but I also have a house worth of student loans, but I'm actively paying for it. I have a plan for my life, all of that, but that's the short version. But all of us have gone through some things. But regardless of what life has done to us, it is our personal responsibility to do something different every day that we wake up to make it better. So even if life has happened to you, you make a choice every morning when you get up and go to Starbucks and don't drink the coffee in your own cabinet. You make a choice when you go to Target knowing that you have debt that you need to pay off. And so it's our personal responsibility to do differently, knowing what we know. And with that freedom ultimately comes power. So as I close out my presentation today, I want you to think about for yourself. I want you to complete this statement. Freedom for me is, what does freedom look like for yourself? Once you've defined that, I want you to think about what you have the power to do today to move yourself towards whatever that freedom looks like. And so you have the power to not go to Target when this session is over, or not swipe on Amazon. And I'm using those as very, very basic examples. And the last part of this statement is the sacrifice portion, but I must. So I have the power to pay off my debt, but I must give something up or do something differently. And if you can define this for yourself, let that be the guiding kind of light for you to make whatever financial and lifestyle choices you need to make in order to improve your financial condition. So that is my presentation. That is my time. I think that's it. I'll pull up this slide for if you want to get in touch with D-Free. Our website is mydfree.org. You guys, I'm not sure if your chapter is part of the D-Free $1 billion paydown, but we have a campaign to help Black people pay down $1 billion in debt over the next 5 years. And so if you are paying down debt, we encourage you to log those payments into our confidential site so that you can be in the number. If we can move $1 billion from debt to savings, insurance, and investments for Black people, we will have done a mighty, mighty work. My email address is there if you have any questions. hopefully this was helpful. I know I speak really quickly. I'm thankful that I had the extra time because I'm just 2 minutes over, but I'll stop right there if there were any other questions. But you guys are gonna also be blessed by Ansia Brown, who is our colleague on the MoneyLion side. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Any questions? I'm gonna leave this up really quickly. Excellent. One-on-one, I'll see what I can do, but no, absolutely send me an email. I feel like I'm Ayanna Van Zant in my next life. I love to connect with people, not just about finances, but I've been truly blessed to live out every single thing that I've ever wanted to do in life. And I was laughing as she was reading my bio earlier, because I usually don't want people to read it because my background is so checkered. You see Beyonce's in the background. I got like a Jesus piece in the front of me. There's a lot going on in my life, but I'm thankful to have been able to live this way. Hopefully this was helpful for you all. By way of introduction, our next presenter after you guys take your break is Miss Ansia Brown. She's the social media manager for MoneyLion, which is a online all-in-one banking institution that is absolutely incredible. We've been in partnership with MoneyLion for the last 4 years now. 4 years since we started meeting with them. It is really game changing. And I know that her presentation is going to be inspiring for you. But when we talk about 50% of African Americans being unbanked or underbanked, it's meaning that we're not accessing the traditional financial institutions, and we're relying on check cashing places and payday loans and all these things to fill in the financial gaps. And we're not investing, we're not saving. MoneyLion is a tool that you literally hold in the palm of your hands that does everything a traditional bank can do and more. And so we're excited to be in partnership with MoneyLion, because their goal is to help give everyone access to what the 1% has access to. And you'll hear more about that today. But Ansia is my peer. I got her up early in the morning. She's on the West Coast. So y'all pray for her caffeination and her spirit. But I want to thank you so much for allowing me to share with you today. And I look forward to being here for the rest of the afternoon. So I'm going to stop sharing if I can figure it out without shutting everybody out. And that's what I'm going to do. Stop share. Very easy.
So Tamika, we have 2 questions.
Okay.
Came through the chat. The first one is, what is the best way to start a conversation with loved ones and friends?
Start with sharing your own testimony. And honestly, just inviting them. I had a conversation with a friend who scheduled a conference call with her family. You know, we're all on Zoom, and she's like, we need to have a family meeting. And she took it from the perspective of, you know, I had a dream that when I passed on, XYZ happened. And that's not what I want to happen for our family. And that's how she kicked off the conversation. It doesn't have to be that dramatic, but you can frame it positively. I want to talk about us becoming the Rockefellers, or how do we create our own family legacy? And that's how you open the door to it. But I will say that your own personal testimony tends to be the driving factor when having these conversations with anyone. And so I would say, start with what you've been doing. Try not to be preachy, try to be transparent to bring people into the conversation that you're trying to have, but also know that not everybody's going to be ready to receive it. And so, you know, you have to be willing to not everybody may participate. And you might also start with one family member at a time.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question was, is saving the 3 to 6 months of bill money included in your emergency fund saving?
It should be. You should ultimately get to 3 to 6 months, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take you, it could take you 3 to 6 years to save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, but you want to start with a small pot of money. You know, start with $100, then move to 500, then move to 1,000, and just continually building the amount that you're saving. And then once you have that 3 to 6 months, don't wait 3 to 6 months to start investing. But I had an advisor tell me, you want to save as much as you can and then invest as much as you can from your savings. And so some people, in order to get to that 3 to 6 months, they may take a certain amount of money and invest it in an instrument to grow it to that 3 to 6 months. So maybe it's CDs or something like that. So you're going to gradually build yourself to that 3 to 6 months of cushion.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again for that awesome presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to come off camera, but I'm still here with you guys.
Okay. Those were all the questions that we have so far. And if there are others, we have a few minutes at the end to also answer questions. Thank you.
Uh, Tamika, I do have a text question from one of our participants that's not able to use the chat.
Okay.
Her question is, how important is multiple streams of income?
Very, very important when it comes to building the income side of your budget. However, I'll say this. You want to have streams are small. When you think about bodies of water, streams are small. You want to think about what your main conduit is going to be, whether that's your job, whether that's a business that you started. And in adding those streams of income, they're trickling into what your ultimate income is going to be. So don't think that you have to have 7 different businesses. It could be that, you know, your income, your earned income is a primary stream. Then you have dividend income. You have all these different categories. And basically, if you build your life around that D-free continuum, all the streams will be taken care of. If you have investments, you're going to have dividend income. You might have revenue. If you have real estate, then you can get, you know, capital gains from selling real estate. So really, it's building out your life list, and everybody's streams will look different. But I do think we need to really focus on making sure that we have multiple streams, but at the same time, not use the multiple stream conversation to not pay attention to everything else. Because what you do with one stream of income is just going to show up in the others if you don't take care of the core finances. And so I get that conversation a lot. They're like, oh, you know, start these additional streams. Well, if you're mismanaging the money from your job, then you become a real estate investor. What do you think that money's going to do? And so I think doing everything in order will really help to make those streams make sense, and everybody's streams will look different. I actually have a link to something I'll drop in the chat as well to show that.
Okay,
Hopefully.
thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
All right. Look like it's time for us to take a 5-minute break. Are we taking a 5-minute break or 10? And during this time, we are going to have some door prize drawings. Are we all set, tech team? Tanya, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first drawing we have some TVFCU, Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union, for those that are not in Chattanooga, an inverted umbrella as one of the door prizes. So we will go ahead and give the drawing for that. Or should I go ahead and announce all the gifts we have ahead of time?
We'll do it one by one.
Okay. So the first drawing is the inverted umbrella.
All right, and that person is Joshua Bensa.
So I think we would like for them to acknowledge they're here in the chat. Is that how we want to do it? So they can, we can get their information, make sure they're attending and get their information and have it sent to them or delivered to them.
Yes.
Okay. So the next door prize we have, it is a book titled Debt Free Forever, and it's written by an author known as Carol Hunt, our very own Carol Hunter. And she's known as the Money Mender, and she's a personal finance expert. And let's see, she did mention that this book is biblically based as well. And the winners will also have a CD and a spreadsheet that helps with the budgeting and debt cancellation and credit repair. And it goes along with the lines of what Ms. Tamika spoke about today. So that is our next gift.
And the winner for this is Napira Alexander. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Napira. You just want to acknowledge that you are still in attendance with us in the chat room. And so our third gift we have also from Ms. Carol Hunter, also known as the Money Mender. She's offering a 1-hour financial coaching session. This is a value of a $300 gift. And yeah, she's offering a 1-hour coaching session for free as a gift. So I'll let you go ahead and draw the name for that one.
And the winner for this one is E. Hammond.
Congratulations,
Congrats.
E. Hammond. And then we'll do one more drawing for this this break session before we have our next speaker, and it is another TDFCU inverted umbrella.
And this one goes to William Lawrence.
Congratulations, Will.
Thank you.
All righty. Let's see, it is now time for our next speaker, so we will turn it over to her.
We welcome you, Ansia.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Give me 1 second to share my screen. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, you're ready to proceed.
Awesome. All right. For some reason, I can't see the chat with what the notifications I have, but I will be actually, I can see them. I lied. So my apologies here. So I can see the chat. So if you have any questions during the chat, please feel free to drop them in. Similar to Tamika, I want to keep this as interactive as possible. Again, my name is Ansia Brown. I'm a social media manager here at MoneyLion. And today I do want to talk to you about all of the offerings and financial offerings that MoneyLion offers, and how, for those especially that are interested in going along that debt-free journey, that lifestyle continuum, how we are an absolute solution to be able to get you one step closer to achieving your financial dreams. So as Tamika mentioned already, MoneyLion is an all-in-one mobile banking experience. And today I'm gonna really go through step by step, get a chance to go through our financial product offerings. If you have any questions, let me know. I also have a twang. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, please ask asking the questions. No offense here. And so the way we talk about MoneyLion here, we like to say that our product offerings are really a financial starter kit for every American. And what we mean by that is, like, we really do have an all-in-one mobile banking experience. You don't have to go, because we are an app, and you can find us in the Apple Store and Google Play Store. You don't have to go to this app for this app for this app for this. We really want to be able for you to have a holistic view of your finances all in one place. And so with that, we offer responsible cash advances, credit builder loans, and as Tamika mentioned, awesome ways to start auto investing. And so this shows you what's all included in our financial membership. And I'll get a chance to talk through all of these things, but we have Roar Money, our banking, our checking account. We have a rewards program. There's loans that you can get. We have a financial literacy component that's added to this. 0% APR cash advances, investment opportunities, and credit building opportunities. But before going completely in a deep dive into all of that, just to kind of give you a little bit more insight about MoneyLion, our primary goal at MoneyLion is to lower the cost of living while increasing the quality of life of our members. We have over 6 million, pushing 7 million members that are part of our membership base. Our company was founded in 2013 by our co-founder, Dee Chobay. We've given our members over $14 million in rewards, and I'll definitely talk about our robust rewards program later. In addition to that, we've also helped our members save over 250 million bank fees, and those add up. And I don't know how much you all know about how banks make money. Bank fees are the easiest way for a bank to make money off you. They'll charge you for not having enough money in the bank account versus overdraft fees. So we don't charge that here, and I'll get more into that. And our products at FDI and SIPC insured. And basically what that means is that your money is safe. If you're banking with us or you're investing with us, your money is safe. And God forbid, let's say the economy crashed tomorrow, that you would not have access to your funds. That won't be the case. MoneyLion has your money completely insured, which is extremely important. So to get started, I'd like to talk about Roar Money, which is truly banking that gives you more here. We recently, I'm not sure how many folks are aware of MoneyLion. So if there are any people that actually are MoneyLion members and been with us for a while, we used to be with Visa, and then we moved over our banking and checking with MasterCard. And so with MasterCard, we have some pretty cool perks, which one of them is being able to have your your direct deposit in your account 2 days early. I don't know anyone that doesn't want to get paid 2 days early, and that also helps you in planning out your financial week. Like, what does that look like? But I know on Wednesday, I'll be getting paid as opposed to a Friday. So it's a lot of cool perks there. There's no hidden fees, as I mentioned before. There's no minimum balances, no ATM fees. There's over 55,000 ATMs that you have access to get your money. So yes, we are a mobile bank, but yes, there are physical ATMs that you can go to, not a physical brick and mortar location, but there are ATMs that you can go to take money out of your account. And I know this kind of counters what Tamika spoke about earlier in terms of the swiping, but we are being very COVID friendly. We are a tech company, so you do have the option to have a mobile wallet with us. And so your card is virtual as well. It's a good thing because of the pandemic. You don't want to be touching too much stuff, but to Tamika's point, being able to see your money up front holistically, that is very, very much so important. And we have a feature that I'll talk about later in later's presentation that discusses how you can actually see your finances holistically. So I don't think there's any questions here. So, okay, good to go. So next up, we have Instacash, which is our 0% APR salary cash advances. This is emergency money, and I'm going to reemphasize that this is emergency money. This is not for the shoes that you saw that you really want to buy, or the bag that you saw, or you're really trying to support a friend. This is for maybe your savings that you had saved up, your emergency fund. Your tires blew out, and then something else happened. It was one of those weeks where it rained, it poured. And this is where the 0 APR cash advance really comes into play. So you can get up to $250 anytime. It's 0 interest, there's no credit check. And again, this is responsible cash advances. We're not trying to make money from you with this. We just want to make sure that you have the ability to get this emergency fund of some sort when you need it. So this is a cash advance. I'm just reiterating this because it's super, 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 super important to know that this is something that you should not abuse. And I think that's another part of the conversation when it comes to talking about money. Yes, these options are available, but just because they're available, you do not have to take them. And so with Instacash, I definitely want to reiterate, this is responsible. This is for people that are being responsible about getting a salary cash advance. And just to give you more insight on how this works is that once we'll notice you have to connect your direct deposit. Once that's connected, we'll see, okay, this person's making this amount of money coming in from their paychecks. Okay, this is how much we can lend them. And you won't even have to worry about it. We'll be sure to get that money back once you get your payday. We're not going to overdraft your account. That's not our goal here. We just want to make sure that financially we're helping you in the moment that you need it, but we're also not taking from you in that moment. So again, we really are trying to increase the quality of lives of our members. And yes, Tamika, like, if you need the help, this is for an emergency. I definitely want to reiterate that.
A color, a number. I'm more than my credit score, but a low score means a closed door. Higher interest rates for cars and mortgages. The change is easier than we think. With Credit Builder Plus, a simple loan can build your credit.
So that is a short preview of what Credit Builder Plus is. And Credit Builder Plus is one of our credit score increasing programs here that we have at the company, where we really help you build your credit while you save. It's reported that our members have been able to increase their credit score by 42 points within a 60-day time period. And I do want to reiterate that when it comes to increasing your score and looking like, oh, it's supposed to jump in 60 days, why hasn't it? There's 3 credit bureaus, and all 3 of them have their own little algorithm, the same way Instagram works, that says, okay, yeah, we'll make this credit score increase in like 2-3 months. Somebody else may say like, oh, okay, yeah, this will increase a month here at this time, so you'll be good to go. And so I just definitely want to reiterate that, because that's the reason why you can look at your credit score from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian and see 3 different complete scores, because they all have their own kind of special recipe that makes up your credit score. And to lead into that, we actually do report to all 3 credit bureaus, which is extremely important if you are looking for a credit builder loan. This is what you need to have, because some actually just only report to one, and then you're wondering why, oh my gosh, like my Equifax score is just like extremely high, and then you're looking at Experian and TransUnion like, what's really going on here? I don't understand why my score looks the way it does. And so that's one of the unique features that we do offer through our Credit Builder Plus program. And you can get loans up to $1,000. I do want to reiterate though that this is, if people are using this product, I've seen people that are like, their credit score is at a 700 and they're like, I just want to get it better. I'm trying to get to that 800 score. That's what they can use it for. If you're trying to figure out like, okay, my credit score is not right now where I want it to be, but how can I take it to that next level? This is an awesome product to get started with. There is a membership fee of this with $19.99, but we are all the way through. Like, we will tell you everything you need to know about your credit, how to get it to the next steps, tips on how to like cut back on some spend, learning about how much money, your utilization usage, those things, like that's all within our mobile app. And so with Credit Builder Plus, this is an awesome way to get started if you're trying to improve your credit or you're trying to establish credit, because you need to get started. How much would the interest rate be if you're just starting building credit? I am not at liberty to say that, because I'm not a financial planner, but also with this company, we look at each individual. There's not a set score that was like, okay, well, everyone's going to start here with this particular interest rate. So we do take a chance to look at each of your financial situations and adjust there. So I hope that answers your question, Nancy. And then Shauna, you're asking, is it comparable to getting a secure credit card? So it is a form. It's not a form. It is similar to a secure credit card. However, it's not a secure credit card. I would say there are differences here. We are offering a secure credit card by the end of this year. So that's something that we'll be releasing later. But this is something to get you started on your credit, on your journey. So we give you a loan. Some of this money is put into a reserve bank account, which will hold off. You'll pay off the loan. Once that loan's paid off, of course, we'll be making all of those reports to the 3 credit bureaus to say, yeah, that she paid off her loan on this time and it was on time. That is the process of how that works. And then once that loan is paid off, then we'll actually give you back that money from the reserve account, which is kind of like, kudos to you, you did it. So here's the rest of the money. And that, again, those numbers, they vary based off your personal financial story. So we do look at your money story to see where you come from. Let's see, this can be a great tool for people that are trying to do first-time home buying, especially now is a good time to get your credit together since the interest rates are so low. And then I will answer this question publicly, because I know this is a question that we get answered often. MoneyLion is not a Black-owned company. I'll be very honest about that. Our owner is Indian. The CEO of our company is Indian. However, the efforts that we do, a lot of other competitors don't take the time to be in the community, really talking about finances and really trying to find affordable ways for you to be able to get one step closer to your financial journey. And personally, that's why I'm still at the company. If the company wasn't making me feel good, I would not be here. I am definitely the one to speak up when I don't feel that my voice or people that look like me voices are being heard. So that's one of the reasons why I love being on the marketing team, to make sure that our stories are told in the room. So that is my TED Talk for that. But no, we are not Black owned. So I hope that doesn't deter you away, but there are really a lot of amazing programs and offerings that we have here that I don't think some of our other competitors take into consideration that'll really help our community. I'm speaking when I say our Black and brown people of color that they're really creating these products and services to get us that one step closer to building that generational wealth. So I hope that answers. And thank you, Tamika. Tamika, she's not, the stuff that Tamika's putting in the chat, I have to be honest, she's not saying this because we're a partner. She's saying this because she actually uses the app. She actually goes in, I get updates from her every week about telling me, oh my gosh, I just did this. Dr. Sori, same thing. There's other team members at D-Free that they tell me all the time about their progress. There was a member last night in one of our programs, and they told us, yeah, I started the Credit Builder Plus program on January 19th, and her credit score as of, what was that? Today's Saturday, actually, so Thursday. Her credit score increased by 21 points. And those are the wins that I love seeing in the community, when you're not too sure about how's this going to work out, but then it ends up paying off. And then I don't want to pronounce your name, so I'm going to say W. Robinson. In terms of credit cards hurting your credit score, that's really a mix of your credit profile. And so it is a combination of all those things. It varies. So again, like when the credit scores, these bureaus create their own mix of what your credit number looks like. That is based off whatever recipe they have, for the sake of this conversation, they have mixed up. And so I don't want to say have 1,000,001 credit cards, but I don't want to say have 1 to 2 credit cards, if that makes sense. And yes, for the Credit Builder membership is $19.99, but it's definitely worth the investment. I want to definitely point that out. I think I answered. And Sandra, in terms of the loan being secured, just to clarify, it is a loan, and we do report it to all 3 credit bureaus as if you would take out any loan. There's not, I know some like the payments, for instance, like if you were to pay for rent, that doesn't go on your credit score. That doesn't show like, oh, I've been making my on-time rent payments. That's something, I mean, I'm pretty sure Tamika could add on to this, because I know this is a huge conversation in the D-Free community, that if you ask them like, hey, go to your landlord, like, hey, I want to get my rent reported so that I can increase my credit score over time. Those are options. But in terms of this, like this loan is, we're not going to give you the loan if we don't think that it'll be a best financial decision for you. So we do care about our members that are a part of our community. We don't just give them a loan that we know they can't pay back. We are not predatory under no circumstance. Okay, I am going to go to the next slide if there are no other questions. Okay, awesome.
Ansia, when you have to unmute yours so we can hear the video. Thank you.
My apologies. I will play that again since I didn't realize that was an error on my end. All right, so that is one of the cool features of one of our investment capabilities here at MoneyLion. And so to kind of give you a higher level view of what we offer in terms of investing, we provide our members with access to things that the 1% have access to use for investing. And it's completely easy. It's easy to understand. It's easy to do. It's easy to get started should you choose to do this today. So to kind of give you a background on it, this is a fully managed portfolio account. You do not have to have access. You don't have to have any kind of understanding about how the stock market works, how Wall Street works, what is a broker. You don't have to understand any of those things. We walk you through this step-by-step process and tell you, okay, do you want to be a conservative or an aggressive investor? I don't know what either one of those mean. Okay, let's walk you through that process. Do you wanna have more stocks versus bonds? Do you want all bonds? Do you want versus stocks? I don't understand what that means either. We really take that step-by-step approach to let you understand, like, hey, like this is what it means to be a conservative investor, excuse me. And we give examples. So we'll put in there, like, are you willing to lose, if you put in $5, are you willing to lose this much? versus gaining this much. Like, we want you to, like, we'll give you real life examples. And if you cringe when you look at those numbers, it's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be an aggressive investor. Maybe you should go on the more conservative side, or maybe you should be a moderate investor. And so we really take that personalized approach to make sure that your investment portfolio is exactly what you want it to be. There are no robo advisors here. We have actual people that are looking at your account, and the capabilities we've powered up with to provide you all these amazing investment opportunities are through Wilshire and Global X. And like, long story short, if you have a good amount of money, you can pay people at these companies to manage your portfolio, and you will pay them a ridiculous amount of money. With MoneyLion, all you have to do is get started with $5. And that auto invest video that you just saw previously, I like to tell, especially in the D-Free community, and honestly to anyone, like, that $5 Starbucks drink that Tamika was talking about, like, if you have these, say like, okay, I do have coffee at home, but okay, now that I have coffee at home, I'm saving there. Maybe I can put like one of my $5 Starbucks drinks into my investment account. And so for me, I start small. I have college student loans to pay back. So I'm starting small, but I'm still building slowly but surely. But I invest my Starbucks or my whatever, whatever I'm choosing to, especially give up during the pandemic. I'm using that to invest, like whether that's on a daily, a weekly, a bi-weekly, a monthly basis. You have that option to really set up auto invest, and it's on autopilot. And one of the additional cool features that we have here is that we just recently introduced something called our thematic portfolios, which allow you to invest in things that you care about. So three of the thematic portfolios, and we're working on adding more to the app, include Greater Good, which allow you to invest in things that you care about, Future Innovation, which allows you to invest in tech, and Earn and Grow, which is a cash flow investment portfolio, which I like to say that if you are an aggressive investor, that's probably more on your end of things. If you're okay with maybe losing $1 or $2 from your $5 investment, for example. But those are some of our investment capabilities that we have here at the company, and I'm checking to make sure there are no other questions. All right, we are good to go. So next I'm gonna talk about our rewards program here, which is extremely robust, and I'm almost done with the presentation. So feel free to drop any questions, and I know there's a panel towards the end, but I am all ears and I'm checking the chat. And so with our Cashback Rewards program, we really, and I'm saying this as Ancia, we really do get you the bang for your buck here at MoneyLion. There's multiple ways that you can earn cashback rewards at our company. So if you are a Roar Money card holder, which is our checking and debit account holder program that we have here, you're able to earn money while you shop. So as you can see on the image on the screen in the app, these are just a few examples, but we work with national retailers across the country, and we offer our members cashback opportunities that are unique just to our MoneyLion members. So if you wanted to have let's say a pandemic safe, a COVID friendly staycation in your state, you can do that, and you can get whatever % off that's on this tile once you go into the app and see. And so we do allow our customers to be able to have some fun with this money that they spend. So your daily purchases that you're making, it won't be something that's just like, okay, well, I know I have to spend this, but okay, I'm doing something financially responsible and I'm getting rewarded for it. Like, you can't beat that. Another one of our ways, and I know Tamika has her own personal story about this, we have this cool feature in our app called Shake and Bank. So after you make a purchase using our Roar Money card, you have the ability to get up to that full amount from that purchase. It sounds crazy. Tamika told me, like, I think this was 2 weeks ago, Tamika, you said you made $3 from a purchase. And again, this is you're doing your everyday life expenses. You're spending as you should. And like, literally you're shaking your phone and it's going to tell you, oh, you just won X amount of money from this purchase. And so it's another rewarding way for you to be able to feel good about healthy spending. I'm definitely want to reiterate the healthy spending part. Please don't go crazy. And then the ways to add all of that up, the rewards that you receive, you put them back into your investment account if you have one with us. And that is us investing for your future. So not only could you say, have that auto invest feature set up for $5 a week, a month, or whatever, wherever you are in your financial journey, where however you want to spend your investment that you want to do on that time period. That money also from which your rewards program is actually going into there. So we are getting you one step closer, and we want to make sure that everything makes sense about finances. And so To make everything make sense, there's 2 more slides that I'll share about one of our most holistic features that is actually free in our app. All right, so that is the financial heartbeat. And long story short, it is definitely a GPS to getting you one step closer to achieving your dreams. And so with that, as you can see on the screen, this is just an example of what it looks like. And if you are a MoneyLion member and you're in the app and you're trying to figure out how to access it, just keep swiping and it'll come up towards the end. I think it's like 5 or 6 swipes from through our mobile cards from the home screen. And so you can see on the far right that there are 4 tenets that make up your financial heartbeat. It's save, it's spend, it's shield, and it's score. And some of this stuff Tamika actually touched on. And so I'll give you a high level view of what each of these tenets mean. So save is how much are you saving versus, like, do you have a savings? Are you investing? And that's actually the screen, the image that you see on the screen is what that save feature looks like. So it's really like looking at like, are you ready for the future? Like, do you have things saved? Do you have an investment? Like how are you saving for yourself in the future? Next is spend, and that's the budget that Tamika was talking about. And we give you like, okay, you spent way too much money last month versus this month, like you're in a good place this month. You actually saved this month, or maybe you overspent last month. But it keeps you in check, honestly, about how you're spending in ways that you want to fix it. And so like this heart, like you don't want your heart red. I'm going to say that now. Nobody wants, I know our hearts are red, but you don't want a red heart. In this particular case, like you want your heart to be green here. Next is shield, and that's the protection that Tamika was speaking on earlier, like making sure you're okay. If you haven't thought about car insurance, if you haven't thought about wills, if you haven't thought about life insurance, short-term disability, all those things that Tamika was speaking about earlier, this is a conversation starter. So for those that don't even know where to get started, that shield feature will have you thinking about stuff that you're like, I don't know if I'm in the right age to be thinking about that. Like I'm 26 and I'll go through that shield feature and I'm like, oh yeah, those are things that I need to have like starting now. Like don't wait till tomorrow, and then tomorrow will be tomorrow, and then there'll be another tomorrow after that. So the shield starts that conversation about how can you protect yourself, and also protect your family should something happen to you. And so those are just ways to have a smart money conversation started with them. So I think that's another way that you can get the conversation started for those that are trying to figure out how to start those conversations with loved ones. That shield feature, it puts some things into perspective for you and is very honest. And then finally score, which is your credit score, which is what we've been talking about throughout today. That's just like extremely important. Like looking at your score, seeing where it is and seeing how it can improve. And that makes it up. And then like there's a middle one, as you can see on the screen, which is Strive. And that's just you going into your app every day, checking to see what your finances look like. I have to give D-Free a shout out because I absolutely love that they have a 7-minute challenge going on that are encouraging their community members to check their finances for 7 minutes every day. I think that's an awesome way. And I always recommend to the D-Free community, this is another way that you can actually get involved in checking your 7 minutes by going through these tenets and looking like, okay, does my score, like this is not, it's not a nice looking heart. Like I want my heart to be green. This really is like a Fitbit for your wallet. So that just gives you a holistic view. And so I would like to thank you all for speaking with me today and engaging with me in the chat. I really enjoyed talking to you all about MoneyLion. And if there's anything I can do to help out with this D-Free partnership and help out with your chapter and in terms of learning about finances, I'm all here. And I think there is another question. Is there a monthly fee for a checking or savings account? Our checking fee is $1 per month. That's just a standard administrative fee. And that's the only fee that we do have associated with the account. In the investment account, we don't have a savings, but for our investment account, that is also $1 fee. That's an administrative fee. And again, Tamika got her $3 back. It went right back into her investment score. So her investment account. So it didn't even matter that she spent that $1 for that investment. But there's a lot of capabilities that we are making sure that we give access to people in our community. And I'm speaking for myself, selfishly, as being a part of the marketing team, making sure that we have that access to the community so that finances isn't something that's unapproachable and that you cannot access it. So yeah, I will stop here. And then I know there's a Q&A session. So if there's any additional questions, I would love to answer them there. So thank you all.
And Tia, we also had a question that came in on Q&A, and I do see that Tamika had responded, but I just wanted to give you a chance to respond as well. Should you consolidate your credit cards and enroll in that program? And I think this was the program that assisted with improving your credit score.
I don't want to say yes or no because each of our financial journeys are different. To Tamika's point, I do recommend if you can go in and have that financial advisor go in and speak to them one-on-one so that you can tell them your money story. All of our money stories are different, and I'm gonna be very honest. And I'm gonna be honest with you all today. When Tamika was talking about there's some things that are unexpected. I went through a divorce during the pandemic. That was unexpected, and having those moving expenses during the pandemic on top of making sure I stayed safe. So there are things, all of our money stories are different. And so I do recommend that you do find a free, if you can, find a personal finance advisor that can actually walk you through that. So that way you can say, okay, yes, this part of Moneyline makes sense for me. I am not going to be here on this stoop today and say everything in Moneyline makes sense for you because we're all on different financial journeys. And I do believe that there are financial products and services that we offer here at Moneyline that can help you in whatever stage you're in. So I definitely encourage you having that conversation one-on-one to really look at that and then using Moneyline as that solution, that tool to get you one step closer to whatever your financial goal is. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A or the chat. Do we have any more questions?
Awesome. I am dropping in the chat for those who are interested in signing up the link. So you can sign up there at moneyline.com/dfree.
We don't have any more questions. Also, I am going to drop in the link as well, the email address for the Economic Development Committee. They have agreed to put you in touch with any of these links or get you in touch with DFree or Moneyline if there is something that you would like to speak to them personally about. Okay, if there are no more questions, I will turn it back over to our chairs.
Okay, it is time for another drawing. I see we have some new participants, so I will go over what we're giving away today. We have our next drawing is on a book. It is titled, and I have my notes here, titled Debt Free Forever, and it is written by our very own Ms. Carol Hunter. She's a personal finance expert, and she's also known as the Money Mender. And this book also contains a CD as well as the spreadsheets to help you with the budgeting and becoming debt free. So, Tanya, if you want to have the drawing for that gift.
Yes,
please.
and our lucky winner for this is Karen Fletcher. Congratulations, Karen.
Congratulations. Okay. So our next drawing is for a 1-hour coaching session, and this is the value of a $300 gift. And with the Money Mender, also Carol Hunter. So we have the drawing for that one, please.
Yes. And the winner for this is Gertha Lee.
Congratulations, Ms. Gertha Lee. Okay, we got 2 more drawings. One more, we have a TDFCU, for those who are not in Chattanooga, Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union, inverted umbrella. We need it during these spring showers. So
Yes.
you have the drawing for that one, please.
Yes, and that winner is Tracy Pearman. Again, congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations, Tracy. And then our last drawing, we have one more book by, again, Carol Hunter. The Money Mender, and it is a debt-free book that has the CDs and the spreadsheet and everything to help you become financially free. So last name for that one, please.
Yes, and our final winner for this session is Nancy Neal. Again, congratulations, everyone.
Neal. Congratulations. Okay, we will turn it back over to Shawana and Carol for our Q&A session.
Okay, if anybody has any additional questions that you would like to post in the chat, now is the time, and we can finish up on any final questions that you may have, or anything that we may have missed that we didn't get through. Please, please repost them now. All right, looks like this was a very interactive and thorough, two very thorough presentations.
Thank you guys for having and hosting this on a Saturday morning, talking about money. This is important stuff.
I did have a question. Will the app from MoneyLion lead us to the app?
Yeah, so I think the link, yes, that link will just help you get onboarded. We just want to make sure that we can track you appropriately, especially being at this event with D-Free. So that's just our way of making sure we track your financial journey from the start. So we know you came from the D-Free side. So yes, it will lead you into it. You'll be able to get an email, and then you can go straight into the App Store once you sign up. But I encourage you to start the sign up process with the link that we shared in the chat. So that's moneylion.com/DFree.
We did have a question. Actually, this is about the materials that you all have that you've presented today. Are these available for distribution via email?
Yes. I have a handout. I was going to say, I have a handout that I can share, and I think there's a MoneyLion handout.
Yes.
Too. Yes. So I'll send them to you guys. I thought I did, but I will resend it.
Perfect. There's one more question. One second. We have one more question that was not answered.
I'm looking for it.
I am too. Yeah. Let's see. Carol, can you tell us what the question was? There she is.
The question was, it was during the time that Ansia was speaking, having too many credit cards hurt my credit score, and how many credit cards is too many?
Yes. So just to talk about that in terms of like your credit cards and how much, that is a part of your credit journey, your algorithm. Like I was trying to say, like the 3 bureaus, like they have their own special recipe for your credit score. And so I'm not going to say one credit card is enough versus having 2 or 3 credit cards versus, you know, maybe having 50. I don't recommend 50. I think that's probably a far extreme. But your credit score, that is a mix of like how long you've been a credit card holder. How many credit cards do you have? Like, are you constantly trying to apply for credit cards? Like those hard inquiries, they take a toll on your score. And so your score may look nice, but then you're like, oh, well, I did try to get that Amex card. And then, oh, I tried to get this Best Buy card, or your favorite retail store, and they're like, hey, do you want to get our credit card? Like you can get X amount of points back. You have to be mindful of that, because that can set you up. Especially like for me, I like Banana Republic. I can go into Banana Republic. They got me when I was like 19. They're like, oh, okay, you want a credit card? They got me. But I'm spending responsibly at Banana Republic. I look like when they have a sale and they're like, oh, you can get an extra 20% off because you're a card holder. That's when I see a shops at Banana Republic. So that's like my I deserve. I know we shouldn't, but that's my I deserve treat to me occasionally when I see that really good sale at Banana Republic and I know I'm a card holder there. And so it is a mix of it. I don't want to say having 2 to 3 credit cards is enough versus some having 5 or 6. Your credit age definitely plays a score in that as well. There's a few factors that go into your credit score. And so I definitely advise you to look at where you are with your score right now and then make the best adjustments on, okay, yes, I think right now maybe it does make sense for me to get this card. But then also keep in mind that maybe you don't need another card and you just need to use the cards that you currently have in a smart way. Like if you know that you have a bill that doesn't, because some of these companies do make give you an extra administrative fee if you choose to use your card to pay a bill. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you can pay one of your bills online and it does not have to have an extra fee added to it, do that. And because you can get points back for that, that's an on-time payment. You were going to make that payment anyway. Don't add anything to your card that's like, oh, I shouldn't be adding that. I should add this because I'm in a mood right now. Like I want to get this. I want ice cream. I want to get it. So I hope that answers your question as much as possible. But all of our money stories are different. I definitely want to reiterate that. And so it's definitely important to take a look at what your story looks like in front of you and then say, okay, this is the path I want to go down, because you are the author of your own story. I tell myself all the time, you are the main character. The main character needs to be treated with respect, love, and yeah. So that's my TED talk on that one.
Yeah. And I'll also say so much of this comes down to personal responsibility and personal discipline. I, for one, can't manage more than, you give me more than 6 of anything, and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot going on here. And I think the more that you have to manage, I don't want this to sound crazy, the more money you have to manage, the better off you'll be, but the more help you need to do that. And I don't necessarily consider credit cards money, but the more accounts you have to manage, it's more to manage. And so unless you can really be really disciplined about keeping track of where the money is, where the payments are going, paying it on time, and you have a system, it takes discipline even to take advantage of like credit card points and stuff like that. A lot of us aren't disciplined enough to say, okay, I'm gonna use my credit card and I'm gonna pay it off every month. It's hard to do that if you're like, oh, but they have shoes over here. And I keep using shoes because that's just the easy default that in the moment may not feel like a lot of money to spend $100, but $100 repeatedly every other week is a lot. And so again, it's all about discipline and how you manage it. There's a question about whether or not your credit card should be associated with the emergency fund or should it be strictly cash. Again, that's a personal discipline thing. You know, if you have an emergency account and you would probably need a debit card to get to it quickly, maybe you have a debit card attached to it, but you don't carry it with you. Or, you know, you really have to be able to be disciplined about your money. And just the way all of our money stories are different, all of our money behaviors are different. I can carry all of my cards and not use them, probably because we're not physically going to malls. But when the world was open, I did not carry my credit cards for that very reason. I was like, and I also don't window shop. So that's the other thing. I'm not the friend you call if you just want to go looking. I'm not that girl. Because if I see something, I'm going to get it. And I know that about myself. And so I have to set up parameters in my own life that match what my discipline level is and match what my triggers are. And so I think we have to do that for ourselves, and everybody's going to look different. We do have people that are a part of D-Free that only use credit cards, but they only use credit cards for the points and they're diligent about paying them off every month. So again, it just depends on how disciplined you are and how attentive you can be to your money. But when you're just starting out and you're in the repair phase or like the get control phase of really trying to figure it out, you want to eliminate all possible distractions, eliminate all possible opportunities for messing up, leave the credit cards at home, rely on cash, write down what you spend and why you spent it and how you paid for it. That's the other part, because if you can look at, okay, this week, you know, just track your spending for a week. I bought coffee on Friday. I bought shoes on Thursday. I bought this, and you can attach the why to it. I was confused when I bought this. I was upset about work, and so that was compensatory. I saw sister so-and-so and she had on a blue purse and I decided I needed the blue purse this spring. That was, you know, conspicuous, keeping up with the Joneses. And the more you can do that consistently, you'll start to see where your potential triggers are and make the adjustments.
We do have a question. What percentage of paying yourself should be money, or should all of paying yourself be money?
You mean like money generally or like investments? I'm trying to, The percentage piece of it, I will say again, it depends on where you are in your journey. If you can only afford to give yourself $5 and you want to build up to 5 or 10%, you have to start doing that $5 repeatedly and keep adjusting your lifestyle until you can get to that percentage. Most articles that you'll read, most books recommend paying yourself 10%. If you're giving 10% to God, give 10% to yourself. But that's a goal for most people. It's a lot. It could be a lot of money, or it could, you know, it's just a good size percentage of your money. And if your current financial situation doesn't allow you to give yourself 10%, that doesn't mean don't give yourself 1% if that's all you can afford. You got to work your way up to whatever that percentage is.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we have actually 2 more questions to end our question session. One is, how can you get rid of credit cards without them negatively affecting your credit score?
You don't get rid of them, you pay them off. That's what it is. You don't necessarily close them, you just pay them off. And then you use them just enough to keep them from closing your card. So you might charge gas on one credit card because you know you're going to pay for gas anyway. Buy your gas, pay it off so that the card stays active, so you don't lose that history and you don't close that account out. Because that's the other thing. Once your debt is paid off, they're like, oh, I'm not making money off you. I'm gonna drop your credit, your available credit. I'm gonna, you know, I might cancel your card, and all of those things affect your credit score. So it really is a game, but it's a matter of just being responsible with what you're looking at and making sure that you you balance the damage that you could do with the responsible, you know, behaviors. And so again, it looks different for everybody. There were some cards that honestly for me were worth closing. It was like, even though it's paid off, I don't even want this in my life anymore. Best Buy, you can have it. Just take it back. I don't want it. And so it was worth that moment of credit dropping for me because I didn't want anything else to do with that. So it just depends.
Okay, and for our last question, and this will be to both of you ladies, you've given us a lot of different ideas and different advice, but this last question says, what is the one key thing or advice you would give that has helped you each the most in your own personal financial journey?
You can go first, Nancy, if you're ready.
Tough one, because I think my story is different because I have student loans and they don't faze me. I look at them and I'm like, yeah, I owe the government back $60K, and it's part of my money story. But for me, I think one of the most things, I tell myself this every day because the pandemic definitely has taken a toll on your everyday life, that this is just a season. And that's just something that I live by every day. I tell myself that, and I tell myself in the morning, today's going to be a good day. And with that, I start somewhere, because the thing is, we get so wrapped up in trying to put something off to tomorrow, and then tomorrow after that, and then maybe you have a big project at work or something else happened. Somebody got sick, like my friends are catching COVID, unfortunately, and I'm readjusting my schedule to be like, okay, let me make sure I can call them so they don't feel like they're alone right now in this moment. So start today, even if it's something small. Like right now, like if you are at the point where you're like, okay, I actually do spend a lot of money at Starbucks on a weekly basis, and I can get started with like investing $5. Don't compare yourself. That's again, keeping up with the Joneses, comparing yourself to someone that may be doing Forex, because I know that lifestyle can seem trendy to some, no offense, to those that may be interested in it. But like start wherever makes sense for you, and don't compare your financial journey to somebody else, because right now it may seem pretty tough and like, oh my gosh, I don't understand why I'm going through these things. But there's a reason why you're going through those things, and that there's a greater outcome, and it may not be at the same pace that this person is in. Like I've had a very interesting career, and to get to a point now where I'm actually in a room and I'm able to come and speak to Be Free. I think this is like my 3rd or 4th presentation, and I can actually be in the community talking about financial services. I wasn't too sure if that would be my trajectory, to be honest, but I'm glad that I'm here and I'm glad that I'm in that space. And so all those times that I waited and understood this was a season, and my season looks different than others, and appreciating those moments and being present in those moments. So that's my life tip to myself that I give. So that's like my morning pep talk with myself, but I apply that across the board, personally, financially, and professionally.
Yeah, perfect. I would say let go of the shame and guilt about wherever you are and what your current habits are. Because a lot of times that will keep you from taking action. It is easy to hide in the things that we don't want to show the rest of the world, especially as it relates to finances. And I'll say this, it's nobody's business at the end of the day. Like, none of you have to come on to anybody and confess all of your financial sins, but it is important to be able to be transparent with yourself. And if you get so caught up in the guilt and shame that you can't even face yourself, that's when you get stuck in inaction, because you can't fix what you're not facing. And so that's my biggest piece of advice. Let go of the guilt and the shame and just be willing to, they're numbers at the end of the day. Be willing to face your numbers. And again, like Ancia said, just one thing at a time. And maybe today you're just going to sit and write down everything that's coming in and everything that's going out. You don't have to figure out how to pay it. You don't have to make any adjustments. You don't have to do nothing else. But if you just get it all down on paper, and then maybe by Monday, you'd be like, okay, I see it all. Let me break it down into buckets now, and just one thing at a time. But just you can't be ashamed of yourself. This is between you and God. So write it down and face it, and then you can start to make the moves that you need to make.
Please give yourself grace. Please. That is just most important. And for those that do have a to-do list that they like to keep up with, if you have that long list and you're like, I need to get this stuff done this week, give yourself 3 tasks to do for that day. Because the minute you start adding extra stuff, you're not gonna feel like you accomplished something with those other 2 strikeouts that you may have done, because you added like 8 more things to the list. So that's something I personally tell myself, so that when at the end of the day, when I'm like grateful and I'm looking at, okay, what did I accomplish today? I got the 3 things done on my task list. Right. So like, that's a way to get started, and that's starting small. You don't have to do 1,000,001 things. We're not Beyonce. I like to too, but we're not Beyonce. Let's be real. She makes 24 hours and 48. 48 hours and 24. So that's her. But we are our own leaders. We're the main character in our life. And so please give yourself grace. Please. That's all I'm asking, especially when it comes to finances. Because social media, especially being in the social media space, it will make you feel like you're slipping, and that's not the case. Right. So I definitely just want to point that out there. Okay, I am done. I'm sorry, Tamika, for adding on to your point.
No, it's good. It's good.
Thank you, ladies. I'll turn it over to our chairs, Tanya and Karita.
Okay, just a special thanks to the speakers, Tamika, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Ancia, for those that wonderful information. It was very insightful for me to learn as well. And I just want to thank Tamika for breaking down the process, for us to learn, and then giving us a plan to build on, and then for Ancia to actually giving us the tools to implement those plans. So I'm excited. I'm pretty sure my husband is, because I'm gonna try to, save some money instead of doing this retail therapy, but you gotta have some kind of outlet, but I'm learning. And a special thanks to the Chattanooga Alumni Chapter in Economic Development Committee. You have been very helpful with getting the gifts, just helping, plan this whole event. And so we're excited to be working with you all. We also want to thank our Chattanooga Alumni Chapter just for the support and, sharing the information and joining the session today. So I hope you were able to take away and learn some information as well. And last but not least, the participants, everybody that registered, I hope you, have some key knowledge that you can walk away with and learn from and utilize these tools and the plan that we learned today. And so I just want to let you know we are going to be offering more activities and events. So please follow the Chattanooga Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta on our social media websites, on our Facebook, and also on our Instagram. It's at CACDST1941. And once again, I appreciate everyone for participating, the speakers, everyone. So I hope you all have a great day. Tanya, would you like to add anything?
I just want to say thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being engaged. The interactiveness was very, very on point. And I do agree that the conversations that we have are most definitely going to be life-changing events for us and will help all of us to get on that journey to becoming free. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you on our next sessions that we have. Thank you again.
Bye.